So we're back today after yesterday's bowler session, which was a crazy long 2-hour session of just trying so many boulders and like just lots of different styles. Like I worked a slab for 45 minutes, but I also was doing some jumping and crazy dynos at the beginning of the session, and it left me feeling quite destroyed this morning. And I was going to try as hard as I could, but I was expecting a hard campus session. But it was actually a bit better than I thought. When I was warming up, it felt pretty strong. And this campus session is going to be a little bit different than our normal campus sessions because, well, first of all, obviously we're on a different spray wall. We're at Element Boulders here in Munich, and they have this really cool spray wall. Like, oh man, I would love to take this home with me. Like Boulderveldt spray wall is good. I really like climbing on Boulderveldt spray wall, but this one is just so good. They've got all these crazy cool holds, and it's just so much fun. I trained on it a bit at the beginning of this year, and I had a good time. Actually, the one downside of the spray wall is you can see they have a lot of cool holds, but a lot of them are fiberglass, and so it actually kind of will wear down your skin a bit more than you want during a spray wall session. That's an advantage actually of Boulderveldt. Boulderveldt spray wall, they have like a lot of older holds on their wall, and so you can actually train on it for a bit longer without ruining your skin. But yeah, so like I was saying, this campus session is going to be a bit different because normally with our campus sessions is like what I'll try to do is, let's say we have a 2-week cycle of training where we're campusing a lot, is I'll try to set my boulders at the beginning of the 2-week cycle. I'll set them to a difficulty where it's going to take me 2 weeks to finish them. Or maybe I finish them right before the 2 weeks and I can repeat them a couple times on the last session, like to get a bit more value from them. But oftentimes I don't want to set a campus boulder at the beginning of like a 2-week cycle and then send it on the first session. Like that'll be the case with most times. Like sometimes, sure, I'll just send a campus boulder right away, but oftentimes I'll want them to last for 2 weeks. But obviously this is the only day that we're going to be having a campus session here at Element. And so when I was making these campus boulders before the session, I made up 3 boulders, and I was trying to target the difficulty to be like right on the line of sending it in the single session or like getting close. And so I was hoping, like I knew that I could hopefully send all 3 of these boulders. Of course, like I didn't necessarily forehand these boulders, and I didn't know the holds perfectly, so it was kind of a lot of guesswork, but it turned out to be pretty good. The first boulder you saw there, I was kind of falling on near the top. Wasn't able to quite hold those 2 teal holds together. They were pretty bad. But yeah, then we're moving on to this one here, which is a really cool boulder. I had a lot of fun trying this. I like I've kind of said, I try to make like a lot of movement-based campus boulders and not necessarily just like hard hold, right, left. I try to like practice a lot of complicated movements and swing-based campus moves while we're having these sessions. And so you can see here, after some physical kind of basic campus moves at the bottom, we have a bit of a coordination move here in the middle where you have this like pretty decent edge with your right hand, this black hold, but then the sloper is really bad. And it's like kind of a weird, like you feel like you're gonna spin like helicopter off because this hold in your left is really bad, and you have to hit this pinch, which is pretty good, and then drop your hand back down. But it's such a weird move because you can't really pull off of your left hand because it holds so bad. So you have to almost flick your body and like kind of flop your body into that moment of like where you have that kind of zero gravity in order to hit the pinch and then catch the hand in the middle of that time where you have no swing. And so it was kind of fun to figure that out. And then yeah, the last move was a bit overcooked, but I felt like I got a lot of value from that boulder. And yeah, like the reason I'll often try to make these sort of movement-based campus boulders where the crux might necessarily not even be just holding holds really hard, and it's more on just like kind of knowing how to throw your momentum, is because these kind of movements you'll see on comp style boulders all the time. And while they may not necessarily be campus moves, these elements of the upper body motion that is required in these sort of dynamic moves these days, oftentimes you can mimic while you're campusing, or like campusing will help you with these certain elements. Like let's say you have your dyno where you're jumping to the right and you catch this hold and you got to go like paddle 1-2. The movement that's required to hit this paddle hold and control your momentum and throw it in a new direction, oftentimes I will learn by making these sort of moves on the spray wall and during my campus sessions. So it's a great way to train power at the same time, also training like modern competition style movement. And so anyway, here we're moving on to our third and final boulder of the session. A bit of a dynamic move here at the start. I finally stick it here for the first time. The first couple of tries, I wasn't even able to find the momentum to even get my left hand on this hold. I was just kind of slapping at the right hold. But yeah, you have to like have this kind of really bad pinch on the bottom of this volume, and you just pull as hard as you can to these two slopers and catch them. Pretty fun move. And then the main crux of this boulder kind of relies around this super slopey blue pinch at the end here. When I was making this boulder before the session, I was hoping that I wasn't being a bit too optimistic with this hold. I was thinking that maybe this blue pinch is just going to be too bad to match and campus off of, but it looked like it would just be on the line, and it proved to be a bit better than I thought. Like I could just pinch it pretty hard, and then the meat hook was also better than I thought to match here. But then this move out to the right, I was never able to stick. It was a lot harder than I thought. I thought the L hold would be a bit better. It was a little bit in cut, but it was kind of like a slopey pinch that had a bit of an in cut edge, and it was really hard to hit it perfectly. And flipping to the bottom of this hold was actually really bad too, so I couldn't quite hold those two. That would be like those last two boulders, honestly. Actually, all three of those campus boulders, I would love to try again. I'd love to kind of take those home with me and work them for a little bit longer, but I'm happy with the difficulty that I was able to achieve with this campus session. I kind of nailed it with like threading that line of being able to send it in the session, but or just getting close, which ended up being the case. I didn't get any sends, but I was very close, and I felt like with maybe 10 more minutes on each of those boulders, I probably could have sent them. But yeah, after our fun little campus session, I had quite a bit of energy left still. It was like I was only a 45-minute of campus, which is that's our standard for our campus sessions, where it's always usually 45 minutes whenever I give myself a campus session. But usually I'm pretty tired at the end of them, just because every move is physically taxing, right? You're always constantly pulling really hard and there's no relief. But for some reason, I just had a lot of energy left at the end of the session. I had 3 espressos or something before the training session because I knew I was probably going to be tired. And I think that helped counteract. So I had a bit more energy than I thought. And so I decided to kind of just wrap up this 2-day block of training early and do my workout right after the campus session. Normally I'll take like 2-3 hours in between to let the fingers recover. But they weren't super tired, and I felt like I could just do the workout now and then kind of treat myself to the rest of the day as being, kind of a rest day. Not a rest day, but no more training left in the day. I could just go home early. So it worked out nicely. And part of the reason I was able to do this is because with our hangboard, like our crimps, since I'm still just kind of easing back into 2-arm hangs because we haven't done it in so long, I'm not nearly like pushing my max weight yet. I'm slowly working my way up there. So today we were hanging 80 pounds, which is pretty good. Like that's like 80 pounds is usually like my benchmark for like, okay, my fingers are solid. I'm ready to go do a comp now or compete. That's usually like knowing that I'm not gonna my fingers aren't tweaky and they're like solid, like ready to go perform decently whenever I'm hanging 80 pounds on a small beastmaker edge in the half crimp. That's kind of like my prerequisite to going and doing any comp or something. If I'm not crimping 80 pounds on the hangboard, that means I usually am not ready for anything, in my opinion. So yeah, we're still kind of working our way up slowly, and because I'm not like trying to push like 110 pounds, 120 pounds or something, that means I don't need as much recovery, and therefore I can do my workout like right away after the campus session. Let's say we were like, in our 2 to 5 second hangs, and we were trying to push our max weight at 120 pounds, I would force myself to rest for like 3 hours instead of going right after the campus session, even if I was feeling like I had a lot of energy. So today is like an opportunity where I could afford to do the workout right away. And then pinch block, still easing into it as well. We're doing 66 pounds a day, and it's feeling pretty hard. It's not feeling super strong yet. Like obviously we got our 80-pound pinch at the end of the last training cycle, so it's still a ways till we're there. This is like the 3rd or 4th pinch block session back. So yeah, 66 is fine. At least it's not kind of it's not fluctuating too much. It's been pretty consistent. We did 62 for the first 2 days, and then this was our second day of doing 66. So it's pretty good. And then our weight at dips was the same as the last session, 70 pounds for 4 reps. And then pistol squats, 4 reps, we were able to bump up our weight from 30 pounds last session to 35 pounds today. And that wraps up our little 2-day training stunt here at Element Boulders in Munich. And it also wraps up our 2-week cycle where we were like kind of training on the spray wall mostly, and it was a lot of like physical training. All of our sessions were basically on the spray wall, unless we had to kind of like ditch the spray wall because I was super tired and go boulder on the main walls a bit. But other than that, like this was kind of the last 2 weeks we're all on the spray wall, and you see we were spending most of our time at Boulderveld because that's the only gym like around us that has like a pretty good spray wall. And I guess I said this a while ago, like in the first video or something, I said that Boulderveld is the only gym that has a spray wall around us. That's not true. Studebaker Mannheim has a spray wall, and like so does Studebaker Darmstadt, but like they have kind of, you know, some kilter boards and moon boards and kind of some wood spray walls. And I think Studebaker Mannheim has like kind of like a spray wall with just like some small holds, and like it basically what I meant when I said that neither of the gyms have a spray wall is they don't have a spray wall that I'm going to train on and that kind of suit my needs. You'll see that I am training on these spray walls with like big holds, big pinches, big slopers, because that's what I needed of a spray wall. But anyway, that wraps up this 2-week spray wall cycle. Now we're going to move into another like week and a half cycle before our first rest week of kind of a mixture of the past 2 little training weeks we've done. And then, yeah, that'll bring us into our first rest week of the program, which I'm kind of starting to need as well. Like we've been training pretty high volume for the past few weeks, and I'm starting to want a rest week. And it'll be fun too. My rest week, I planned it to take place over the World Championships in Switzerland like that week, and that's where Maddie will be competing. She's competing in that event as well, so it'll be fun to watch her over the rest week.